The issue that my parents had with me and my choice of profession was that they thought it was beneath me. They thought that I had a higher calling, that I should have gone into politics, and they were just purely, simply disappointed in me.
Somali-born fashion model Iman, talking there about the reaction of her parents to her chosen career. In today's Better Speaking, we hear more from Iman, and as usual, teacher and trainer Richard Hallows will be with me to explain what makes her such an effective user of English as an international language. Iman was born in the East African country of Somalia. While she was a student, her distinctive good looks were noticed by an American photographer who asked her if he could take her picture. At first she said no, but eventually she agreed, and when she arrived in the United States in the 1970s, she was an immediate success in the world of fashion modelling. In this interview, we hear her talk about her family's reaction to her becoming a model, particularly as Somalia is a Muslim country and many of its people are very traditional. Did her chosen career not lead to problems with her family, for example? Was she, as a Muslim woman, not supposed to be very modest and wear a scarf or veil to cover her face?
For one thing, let me make it very clear. Somalia is a Muslim country, 100% Muslim country. But we also have a very strong cultural identity. Somali women don't wear veils. We have our own traditional clothes. We cover our head, but definitely it's not a veil. So we've never worn veils. I've never worn veil. My mother has not worn veil. So that was not the issue. The issue that my parents had with me and my choice of profession was that they thought it was beneath me. They thought that I had a higher calling, that I should have gone into politics. And they were just purely, simply disappointed in me. So it was just the choice of profession that I chose that they were not happy with.
Iman explained that even though Somalia is a Muslim country, it has its own distinctive culture and traditions. While Somali women wear a scarf to cover their heads, they don't wear anything which covers the face. They don't wear veils. So it wasn't the things she wore as a model that made her parents unhappy. It was the fact that they thought modelling was not a good enough job for their daughter. It was beneath her. They wanted her to have a professional job. In fact, they wanted her to become a politician.
The issue that my parents had with me and my choice of profession was that they thought it was beneath me. They thought that I had a higher calling, that I should have gone into politics, and they were just purely, simply disappointed in me.
But despite her parents' disappointment in her choice of career, Iman went on to become a very successful and famous fashion model, first in the United States and then all around the world. So coming from a traditional African Muslim country, what does Iman herself think of the modelling business?
It's a very provoking business. It's all sexual business in terms of how the girls are photographed. They're supposed to be wanton and sexy and voluptuous and all that. And it was not something that went hand in hand with my upbringing as a Muslim girl. So there was that conflict, and I think that conflict stays with me on a daily basis, and this choice of profession that I have chosen.
Iman says that modelling, particularly when being photographed, is all about the model making herself and her body look sexually attractive. She still feels a conflict between her upbringing as a Muslim girl and this aspect of her career.
It's a very provoking business. It's all sexual business in terms of how the girls are photographed. They're supposed to be wanton and sexy and voluptuous and all that. And it was not something that went hand in hand with my upbringing as a Muslim girl. So there was that conflict, and I think that conflict stays with me on a daily basis, and this choice of profession that I have chosen.
bbclearningenglish.com.
And with me again in the studio is teacher and teacher trainer Richard Hallows. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Callum.
Richard, Iman has been a very successful international model, but is she a successful user of international English?
I think she's extremely successful. I think what makes her particularly good is she's got a very wide range of vocabulary.
And why is having a wide range of vocabulary, good?
Well, she uses it. It makes her very interesting to listen to.
And can you give me an example?
Yeah, she's describing models or what's necessary in a model, and she uses words wanton, sexy, and voluptuous.
Very expressive language.
Yeah, extremely descriptive. Yeah, very nice.
It's a very provoking business. It's all sexual business in terms of how the girls are photographed. They're supposed to be wanton and sexy and voluptuous and all that.
So having a wide vocabulary is good to make yourself more descriptive and interesting as a speaker. How can students develop this?
I mean, I think it's a problem. Students are always coming to me saying, I need more words, I need more vocabulary, and it is a problem. But I think it's a case of organising yourself and having a strategy which helps you learn more words more quickly.
And what are some examples of a way that students can learn these words?
Okay, well, if we go back to Iman and we think about these words that hang together, this wanton, sexy and voluptuous, I think it's a very good way to learn vocabulary in subject areas. Mm-hmm. There's a psychological theory that in your brain you have lots of little boxes, and in each box you have vocabulary connected to one subject. And so it makes sense to learn your vocabulary, to organise your vocabulary in your notebook and learn it in subject areas.
So, for example?
Well, say you want to learn vocabulary around, I don't know, say a school. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to build what we call a mind map in your notebooks.
A mind map?
A mind map, it's also called a spidergram. Basically, you've got the words and you link them together in a logical order. Any order logical for you. So maybe you have subject, the word subject, and then connected to that you could have biology, chemistry, maths, physics, whatever. And then next to that you could have words maybe like, I don't know, love, hate. Maybe I hate physics, or I don't know. You can organise it how you want, but to make those connections in your brain to help you remember.
So it's more helpful for students to organise these words by subject rather than maybe just alphabetically in a notebook.
I mean, alphabetically it's a different system then you've got a mini dictionary that you can refer to. It's another way, but I do like this idea of organising things by subject.
Okay, let's move on to a different area. What other things could you pick up on from Iman's English?
Okay, well, something else that she does, which is, I think, very effective, is she repeats words and she repeats structures sometimes, but particularly if we listen to her talking about Somali women wearing veils, she repeats the word veil quite a lot.
Somali women don't wear veils. We have our own traditional clothes. We cover our head, but definitely it's not a veil. So we've never worn veils. I've never worn veil. My mother has not worn veil. So that was not the issue.
Now, if you were to talk like this in an everyday conversation, it might sound quite strange, but maybe if you're making some kind of presentation, something like that, in business or, I don't know, at school, it's quite an effective communication strategy.
And it's something that politicians do quite a lot, isn't it?
They do. They will say, my government's going to, my government's going to, da-da-da-da, and they repeat the same structure again and again and again.
So it's almost like a kind of speech-making, a kind of rhetoric.
It is.
But generally not a useful thing for day-to-day conversation.
I think it probably sounds a little bit strange in an everyday chat kind of situation.
What is strange about it in a chat conversation, and how can you avoid that?
Well, you should try to not repeat the same word, really, and by having this, increased range of vocabulary, it's good to change the words.
Okay, any other points that we can pick up on?
Well, just generally, I think it's quite interesting that Iman is obviously married to an Englishman, and so she's obviously, and she lives in America, having lots of exposure to English. So I think it makes this point again that our listeners should try to get as much exposure to English as possible.
And through what means if they're not living in an English-speaking country?
Listening to the BBC World Service is quite a good idea. Or, obviously TV, etc. Maybe try and get some kind of pen friend so you have some kind of interactive dialogue going on there, or even some internet chat, something like that might be quite accessible for our listeners.
So, Richard, I wonder if you could give us those few pieces of advice there in summary.
OK, well, first of all, increase your vocabulary range. And do this by subject area, organising words connected with some subject, and make the connections, in your mind, organise it in your notebook. Secondly, if you're making some kind of presentation, repeat the word or repeat the structure. Yeah, very effective. And finally, try to get as much exposure to English, either through the radio, TV, internet, as you can.
For today, Richard, thank you very much.
Your spoken English will be more effective and sound more interesting if you can use a wider range of vocabulary. Think about how you write down and record new words and phrases. Don't just write them down in alphabetical order. It's easier to remember new words if they can also be written down with other words, words which relate to the same topic or subject.
Increase your vocabulary range and do this by subject area, organising words connected with some subject, and make the connections, in your mind. Organise it in your notebook.
If you're making a speech or giving a presentation, you can emphasise an important point or an argument by repeating certain key words or phrases.
If you're making some kind of presentation, repeat the word or repeat the structure.
You'll be a better, more fluent speaker of English if you can expose yourself to as much of the language as possible. Take every opportunity to listen to English and communicate with people who use the language well. Listen to the radio or watch TV or DVDs. Find a pen friend in an English-speaking country. Join a discussion group online or interact with English speakers around the world by email.
And finally, try to get as much exposure to English, either through the radio, TV, internet, as you can.